Mr. Peter Manyonge Wanyama, legal counsel from Manyonge Wanyama and Associates LLP, is in the building. Good morning, sir.
Good morning to you.
Yeah, it's such an honor to have you here. And of course, you had already done an introduction, but the quick question we would like to ask is why petitioners are taking President Ruto's government to court? I think that's a good starting point. Last week, it's been an exchange of judiciary versus government.
Executive,
And then government slams judiciary. Then another one, civil society slams Ruto. CJ Koome stands firm. Those were some of the headlines last week.
Ruto backtracks. It's a lot of back and forth.
Yeah, let me first of all start by saying that we have a constitution which provides what we call fundamental national values and principles of governance, which must be met by anyone in government, including the judiciary, including parliament and the executive. Now, in our context, it is the executive that implements policies, it makes laws. For example, we expect that President Ruto and his government, they will be able to implement their manifesto. They will push through certain policies and certain laws. Now, these policies and laws must meet the threshold which has been set in the Constitution. So the Constitution provides guiding points. So if you don't meet this threshold, people will always go to court. And remember, the same Constitution says that if you violate it, anyone, including a member of the public, can go to court and challenge a government decision. So it explains why people are able to go to court. One of the major grounds which they are challenging some of these policies and laws, for example, in the housing sector, is lack of public participation. Public participation is a fundamental national value and principle of governance in the Constitution. So that whenever you do anything that is, as a government, you must do what we call qualitative and meaningful public participation. You must go around the country and consult all Kenyans. You must organize meetings all over to get their viewpoints, which you must consider before you push through your policy and legislation. So unlike the previous constitutional order where Parliament would just enact laws without regard to the concerns of the people, now the dynamics have changed. So it explains why if you are sitting in the seat of government, you'll always receive very many constitutional petitions which have been filed if you don't follow the law.
That's it's interesting to note that we have a constitution that's very robust as always. It's always in the implementation. The devil is always in the details, right?
Yes.
But the last few weeks I've seen, of course, like Brian said, back and forth, especially from the executive. And President William Ruto made statements that were bordering on saying that, that the judiciary is frustrating his efforts, to develop the country. And if necessary, they might have to, I don't know whether it's to bypass or to push their policies through, one way or another. Why is it so important to have one judicial independence? And even as President William Ruto has backtracked on this statement a little bit, what does that mean in the grand scheme of things when we're thinking of judicial independence?
One is that the judiciary, the independence of the judiciary is a principle which is safeguarded by the Constitution. So there's no way the president can bypass what the Constitution provides. Remember that he's a product of the same Constitution. People went to court to challenge his victory, and the Supreme Court ruled in his favor. And at that time, he praised the courts because the courts were able to apply the principles which are there in law and the Constitution to confirm his win. So judicial independence is a fundamental issue that we must always protect. Judicial independence should be distinguished from what the president has been saying. Impunity. He seems to be saying that you people are in the judiciary.
I think the term used was even judicial corruption.
Judicial corruption, judicial impunity and all that. But you see, we have a legal system that lays down mechanisms for complaints against judges who make mistakes. We are not saying that you have a perfect judiciary. There are judges who make mistakes, they receive bribes, but there are systems for dealing with that. Remember, the president has Directorate of Criminal Investigation with a whole institutional superstructure to make arrests. He has EACC. He has the Asset Recovery Agency and many other government bodies which he can use to investigate judges who receive bribes to undermine the rule of law. But he cannot come out outrightly as president, to say, for example, that I can't disobey court order, I can't obey court orders, I will disobey decisions made by courts. He can't do that for the reason that as president, he's the custodian of the rule of law. If there are problems within the polity, he is supposed to activate the existing mechanisms to ensure that the system functions. So all of us are very keen on an independent judiciary, because once you lose an independent judiciary, then you can walk outside there, the police arrest you for no reason, and then you have nowhere to go.
True.
Yeah. So an independent judiciary is the bedrock of our democracy. It is the fabric upon which our nation stands.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's important that we observe the independence of the judiciary. We don't want to go back to the Moi regime. In the Moi regime, judges will receive calls. You are taken to court at 7 p.m. because the judiciary is not independent. A decision has already been made for you to be taken in custody. You are imprisoned sometimes without a trial for more than 6 months. No one raises concerns.
True.
And therefore, it is important that we really safeguard this baby called independence of the judiciary, because it's upon which that all our fundamental rights and freedom can be enjoyed.
True. Also,